Okay, let's jump right into this explainer on the historical origins and key ideas of Hinduism and Buddhism in ancient India. We're talking about two of the most profound spiritual traditions in human history. These belief systems didn't just shape the ancient world, they literally continue to influence the lives of billions of people today. We're going to explore the historical context they grew out of, unpack their core concepts, and see exactly how they answered some of the biggest questions of human existence. To keep us on track, here is our roadmap for today. First, the roots of belief. Second, core ideas of Hinduism. Third, the rise of Buddhism. Fourth, comparing the traditions. Fifth, spread and influence. And finally, our knowledge check and takeaway. Starting with Section 1, Roots of Belief, the foundations of ancient Indian society. Let's set the stage. To really understand these beliefs, we have to look at the landscape that birthed them. Picture this. Around 2500 BCE, the Indus Valley civilization is booming with technologically advanced cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. We're talking complex societies, rich spiritual lives, and a pretty fluid class structure. But then, around 1800 BCE, nomadic groups known as the Aryans begin migrating into the region, bringing with them a completely new set of cultural and religious traditions. Fast forward centuries later to 563 BCE, and Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, is born, heavily challenging the established norms of his day. And finally, by 268 BCE, Emperor Ashoka is utilizing his massive Mauryan empire to spread those Buddhist teachings far and wide. So the foundation of this new religion brought by the Aryans was built upon sacred hymns known as the Vedas. Now, because the Aryans were an oral culture, these hymns, prayers, and poems were passed down strictly by word of mouth from one generation to the next. They'd sing them during elaborate rituals and fire sacrifices to celebrate a whole pantheon of gods connected to nature. Eventually, these verses were meticulously recorded in the written language of Sanskrit. This Vedic religion evolved over time, blending with local Indian cultures, and gave rise to a complex belief system called Brahmanism, which laid the direct groundwork for Hinduism. Which brings us to Section 2. Core ideas of Hinduism: karma, reincarnation, and the social order. As the Vedic religion transformed over centuries into Hinduism, it established some really profound concepts about life, death, and social duty. It actually shifted from a religion focused mostly on priests offering sacrifices to a highly personal, devotional system that everyday people could access. Central to this whole worldview is the concept of dharma. In the Hindu tradition, dharma isn't just some arbitrary set of rules. It is the fundamental cosmic law that maintains the balance of the entire universe. Following your specific duty, which was determined by your position in society and your stage of life, was seen as absolutely crucial. It basically meant doing what you were supposed to do exactly how you were supposed to do it, just to prevent social and cosmic chaos. And the really crucial point here is that every single action carries weight. This cosmic justice directly impacts your future, and that is karma. Think of it like a spiritual ledger. When you faithfully obey your dharma, you're accumulating positive residue. But when you fail to follow those duties, you accumulate negative residue. This wasn't just about punishment or reward right now. It was about shaping the ultimate destiny of your soul. These concepts link together to form a very clear path, which represents the ultimate spiritual goal for Hindus. Step 1 is your action, how well you follow your dharma. Step 2, that action results in the karma you accumulate. Step 3, this karma dictates samsara, which is the cycle of reincarnation. Literally, the karma you built up in your past life dictates the status you are born into in your next life. But the wheel isn't meant to spin forever. Step 4 is the true finish line, moksha. This is the ultimate release from the karmic cycle, achieved when a soul reaches a complete, perfect understanding of the world and unites with the universal reality. Now, what is truly fascinating is how deeply tied that spiritual concept of karma was to a strict, inherited social hierarchy known as the Varnas, or the caste system. At the very top, you had the Brahmin priests, next were the Kshatriya warriors, then the Vaishya merchants, and the Shudra servants. Outside this four-tiered system entirely were the Dalits, or untouchables. And your position in this pyramid wasn't random at all. It was believed to be the direct result of your karma from past lives. So while this system provided incredible social stability, it also completely locked individuals into their inherited class from birth all the way to death. A primary historical text called the Bhagavad Gita perfectly encapsulates this idea. Finished around 300 CE, it states that it is actually better to do your own duty, even if imperfect, than to do another's duty well performed. The entire societal blueprint relied on everyone playing their specific, karmically assigned part without ever trying to disrupt the cosmic order. Moving on to Section 3, the rise of Buddhism, a new path to enlightenment. Let's see how things shifted. As you might guess, not everyone agreed with the rigid structure of the Varnas. Around the 6th century BCE, a royal son named Siddhartha Gautama emerged to directly challenge those established values. Born near India's border with Nepal, he lived a life of absolute privilege. But after venturing outside his palace walls and witnessing sickness, old age, and death for the first time, he experienced a profound awakening. He abandoned his royal life, gave up literally all his worldly possessions, and embarked on a grueling spiritual journey. Through intense meditation, he achieved enlightenment and became known as the Buddha. By exploring the deep depths of human suffering and desire, the Buddha formulated a completely new, revolutionary approach to spirituality. He taught these sequential steps, known as the Four Noble Truths, as a practical diagnosis and cure for the miseries of life. It's almost like a medical prescription for the soul. First, acknowledge that pain and disappointment are unavoidable parts of life. Second, understand that human craving and selfish desire are the actual root causes of this suffering. Third, you have to extinguish that desire to stop the suffering. And fourth, to actually achieve that extinction of desire, you must follow a specific behavioral guide called the Eightfold Path. By adhering to this middle path of morality and wisdom, followers believed they could transcend the cycle of suffering. And notice how incredibly practical this is. It's all about right understanding, right action, right speech, right effort. It doesn't require a priest to perform a sacrifice for you. It requires personal discipline, ethical living, and deep meditation. This was a spiritual path placed firmly in the hands of the individual practitioner. And the goal of walking this middle path? Nirvana. Reaching nirvana meant breaking the cycle of reincarnation entirely. It is a state of ultimate peace found in the total extinction of desire. But here is the truly revolutionary part. The Buddha extended this opportunity for salvation to anyone who followed the path, completely regardless of their inherited caste or class. Let's look at Section 4, comparing the traditions, shared roots, divergent paths. When we put these monumental traditions side by side, we see some really critical overlaps, but also major departures. Both firmly believed in the cycle of life, karma and reincarnation, and both sought an ultimate goal of final release, whether you call it moksha or nirvana. But a massive divergence happens in social structure. While early Hinduism strongly reinforced the caste system, or varnas, to maintain cosmic order, Buddhism boldly rejected that strict social hierarchy. Furthermore, where early Hinduism relied heavily on the spiritual authority of Brahmin priests and the sacred texts of the Vedas, Buddhism placed the power squarely on the individual's pursuit of personal enlightenment. Moving to Section 5, Spread and Influence, moving across the globe. Let's see how these ideas traveled. Ideas this powerful rarely stay in one place. A massive catalyst for the spread of Buddhism was the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BCE. Following a brutally bloody war in Kalinga that left an estimated 100,000 dead, Ashoka was overcome with immense remorse. He actually converted to Buddhism and fundamentally transformed his empire. He prioritized benevolence, built hospitals, and sent missionaries abroad. He even inscribed his new moral codes on massive stone pillars erected all across India, making sure the teachings of peace and compassion literally became part of the landscape itself. This just goes to show how economic networks so easily become cultural highways. Merchants and monks moving along the Silk Roads, as well as maritime Indian Ocean routes, seamlessly blended these spiritual ideas with local cultures abroad. Because of this, Buddhism found massive adoption in China, Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asia, eventually evolving into different branches like Mahayana and Theravada to suit those local contexts. Meanwhile, Hinduism also profoundly influenced Southeast Asian courts, spreading incredibly important Sanskrit literature like the epic Ramayana and Mahabharata all across the region. We've made it to Section 6, Knowledge Check and Takeaway, Testing Your Understanding. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick retrieval check on what we've learned about the social impacts of these beliefs. Think back to our comparison just a few minutes ago. Which of these two ancient belief systems explicitly challenge the social hierarchy of the caste system, strongly appealing to lower castes and women? I'll give you a second to lock in your answer. The answer is Buddhism, because it completely bypassed the traditional authority of the Brahmin priests and didn't lock enlightenment behind a specific social class. Buddhism was incredibly attractive to those at the bottom of the ancient Indian social ladder. It also really appealed to women, who were often excluded from public rituals in the early Brahminist traditions. It promised a path forward based on your actions, not your birth. To summarize our final takeaway, both Hinduism and Buddhism originated in ancient India and utilized shared concepts like karma, dharma, and reincarnation, yet they ultimately offered distinctly different paths to achieve spiritual freedom. From the ancient Indus Valley to the modern global stage, these traditions have profoundly shaped how humanity understands morality, suffering, and duty, which leaves me with a final thought for you to ponder. In our modern, fast-paced world, how might the ancient concepts of karma, the idea that our actions carry real weight, and dharma, the idea that we have a fundamental duty to the greater whole, still influence the way we view our own responsibilities in society today? Keep exploring that thought, and thanks for joining me on this explainer.